Hey guys, Jingro's here doing another Manga Vault for you guys. I feel like we've been through this too much. Anyway, let's get into it. So we have some really old ones that are in here. Really old ones. So this one is Baron Gong Battle. Very small. Here I have another one that I've been reading right here. As you can see, and not even part of the size. And totally. This one is really good though. The guy's arm is basically this weapon, and he's almost kind of like, I feel like, the Guyver and some kind of king guy. Probably like Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe. He's got this power that comes out of his arm. I mean, it's pretty crazy. All these old ones from Anime Works, I feel like, are really weird. If you guys have seen any of those ones. And then we have this one, Apocalypse Zero, which is kind of like the guy has his own suit of armor that plays a role. Very bloody. Both of these are very bloody when it comes down to it. They both came from the same place, basically, though. And I like it back here on the back. I'll show you guys. We have this thing right here that says this book reads right to left, to let you know which way to read. But they're old ones. They didn't get to finish running. But, I mean, there's just so much stuff that's with them. Especially being small and everything. I mean, they were some pretty weird series. One of the guys had something in his arm. One of the guys had a suit of armor. But to get it, he had all these little metal balls that were stuck into his body to activate the nanos in him or whatever. Then we get to this one. I always think of the Red Hot Chili Peppers when I read this title. But this is Red Hot Chili Samurai. Very good. The samurai is kind of like a young sleuth detective. He always does stuff, trying to find out who did something or another. Even though he's the Lord, he's kind of like hides himself behind that because you don't actually know a lot of the times if he's actually the Lord or whatever. He goes out though among the people, and he is basically like this young sleuth Edo period detective. And his big thing is that, I guess, is a little bit of a different thing that people don't know, is he always has a chili pepper in his pocket. It helps him sit there and think. Like if people are sitting there eating chocolate or whatever, that's kind of his whole thing. Is it having a chili pepper is kind of like his I don't know, kind of like the sun for Superman. It's not his kryptonite, it's the opposite. It helps him out. So, very funny when that happens. I think he didn't know what was going to happen with it, and he was kind of like, oh, what do I do here? I don't have my chili peppers. I need one. And then it kind of happened, and he found out. And everything got better because somebody had brought him chili peppers. So then we have this one. Great series. I loved it. Recast. Recast is basically every time this person gets this thing, the spell is recast. They become older. They move on. They become like a young adult. And they use this recast spell, which lets them turn back into a little kid again. And so they're a little kid, they get raised, they move on, and then they also have these sticks that they get every life that the person doesn't exactly know yet. But whatever kind of weapon you want, these become. So he's like, I want this super expensive magic weapon. Da, da, da. That's what it becomes. And he thinks that they're just kind of a party trick or whatever until he actually figures out how to use them. He's connected to all these worlds. People don't really know that. So, I mean, it is a very good series as well. A very good, like, magical series. You know, this guy right here is a vampire that helps him out later on. Knew one of the previous forms of him. Had to figure out, because there's 6 of them, but this one was upside down. It's throwing me off. But yeah, and it just talks about how different stuff you can learn as a even though you recast and you're reborn and you don't know anything, that there's still all this other stuff in the world that will tell you this is who you used to be, kind of. Then we have this one, Heavily Executioner Chiwu. Let's see if I can get these going the right way. His dad was an executioner. This is probably the first one that actually, when I read this, I knew what a executioner sword is. I mean, you can kind of see it behind the guy. Really weird. Most of it involves the weight that it is. They don't actually put a tip on executioner swords, if you didn't know that. If you were watching it, Ice, on Game of Thrones, Ice, which was Ned Stark's sword, was a executioner blade, but they put a tip on it. And really, there's a little bit of a blade to it. There's not really that much. It all goes on heavy weight, being the blade. And you don't actually use the back half of the sword, so it's never really sharpened. So like if, let's see if I have something. I'll just use one of these books. So, like, let's say this is the hilt back here, and this is the front of the sword. This part right here usually doesn't get sharpened or anything. It's only this part right here that lops off the head. They sharpen it on both sides. Sometimes they only sharpen it in one spot, and they have to make sure. You know, that's why they always said if you know that you were going to die, you would pay the executioner some money, because if not, they could flip it around, and that blunt kind of side is what would hit, and it would be excruciating pain because they would have to hit you with it multiple times instead of just one clean strike. So, I don't know if a lot of people know that. If you guys didn't also know that, swords, medieval weapons are kind of one of my things, and I love to learn about all that stuff. So, starting to get into tanks and planes and stuff like that. But let's see. I think this one was also an online game. This is Archlord. Also very good series. There's like an ogre in it that's like his best friend. There's a girl that's supposed to be a wizard. You know, this is one of those that I really enjoy because of the fantasy aspect of it. But it was kind of based off the video game, and it kind of seems like WoW, in a sense, because like in WoW, you know how you had the ogre general and you had the human guy, or World of Warcraft. That's what I think the movie was called. Or no, it was Warcraft. But that's, 2 of the guys are friends in this, and both of them are on there, so always makes me think about that, because that's the face that you see split down the middle. But I mean, it's super, super weird when it comes to it, because there's so much stuff they have to learn how to do stuff, and it's based off of kind of the story where you're trying to figure out who's the Archlord, you know, person, who's going to fulfill the pact, you know, and characters kind of go quickly between different things on some of them. Like, are we friends? Oh, you accidentally did this. That's a slap across the face or stab in the back. And now we're gonna we got to change. We're not friends anymore. You're my enemy. Kind of, here and there. It is a very good one. I would recommend that you read it, especially if you've played the game or if you like fantasy. But it's not really one of those big ones that I would recommend that you read. A lot of these aren't, because it's not stuff that you can find very easily. But anyway, moving on. This one is probably a very good series. I highly enjoyed it. This is Embalmer. And it almost seems like there's some kind of magic aspect to it, because the guy takes people that have been basically wrecked, and he goes in, and some people request, like, hey, I know this person was in a really bad car wreck, their face is all screwed up, I need you to go in and make them look like $1 million again. And that's kind of him. He is one of those people that know how to do it, knows how to make it really good. He takes on all these different requests, and it's from an embalmer's lifestyle, and also kind of like a funeral person's thing of how they make your like family member or a friend or something that you've known, if you've been to a funeral, makes them look good when they've passed away. So it is really good. It almost seems like there is magic involved in that one, but there's not. So then we have Zone Zero, which this is a one about a drug. Very crazy. One of these guys, I think, is a cat. The other one's a dog. They go into these little like world areas where there's demons, kind of like one of our newer series, Black Torch, where they form like a little bubble. You fight in it, and then it kind of dissipates if you kill them off. And there's a bunch of different characters. You guys may think that one right there is a woman. It is actually a man. That's probably why they got away with showing part of it that they did. But he tries to play himself off, so there is a little bit of Yuri action, or Yaoi action in there. And you have different characters. These guys are horses. It's people have like different demons and stuff in it that they fight with. And I mean, it's just kind of, that one's kind of weird. Then we have this one, Gate 7. This one goes off of pretty close the old stories of like the directional beast in Chinese mythology, where it's like the dragon is of the north, the phoenix is of the east, the black turtle or the snake is of the south, and then the white tiger is of the west. I might have one of those mixed up, or two of those mixed up. It would be the phoenix and the tiger if it was, but they kind of go off the story, and this is an old Clamp book too. We'll have to see if my buddy Bazaar has this one. He told me the other day he made sure he had all of them, and I don't know. I need to know. I'm gonna have to ask him. But I mean, this is a very good one. Like I said, I highly recommend it. Most things that are Clamp, like I said, are highly recommended. And there's so much in regards to some of this stuff because of how everything goes. And, pretty sure maybe this goes with all the Clamp stuff because they're all connected somewhere, maybe. Don't know. Hopefully. If not, maybe there's stuff out there and people, I just let you know there was more that you might not have known. And then we have this one. If you guys have seen it, I actually have the second half of the series. Super excited. Can't wait to read it. Hopefully I can get done with some of these other current TBR stuff so I can get into my TBR. And when I do, that is one of the first things I want to pull off my shelf and read, which is Peacemaker Kurogen. This is regular Peacemaker. Really good. Two brothers. One of them kind of knows mathematics and stuff. The other one knows and wants to be a person of the sword and has to learn out how to do that, and is faced with battle for the first time, and it scares the piss out of him, and he doesn't know how to react to it, and has to figure out what exactly he can do. And I mean, different people die that he respects. I mean, there's just so much, and that's why I can't wait to read Peacemaker Kurgan, because this one should pick up where, or Kurgan should pick up where Peacemaker left off, and there is just so much that goes with it. I mean, it's one of those that I love how the artist drew it, and that how they also put their words with it, because the character is just so devastated by this person dying, and it's just kind of like, you don't get to see that too much unless it's kind of like a woman in a series and there's an overabundance of tears and whatnot. Some of them, you know, it's too much. You know, some people don't feel like that's real, and this one, I mean, it just feels like from a strong boy that is all this other stuff, and for it to hit him that hard and just the tears start rolling, you're just like, I feel like I can really sympathize with that, because it's kind of like when people get bad news and then it happens, you know, or joyous news, you know, something like I just had a baby or whatever, and, you know, the person starts crying because of joy. I mean, that's kind of how it feels. It's not exactly joy. In his predicament, it's the sorrow, but how it starts is kind of like that. And I loved it. That's one of the things I love the most about it. Yeah, this is Warcraft, also known as Warcraft Sunwell Chronicles, or trilogy. This is 1, 2, and 3. It does involve a dragon, but it is a little different than how it depicts itself being just about a dragon. There is a lot of other stuff that goes into that series. Also by the same person that did The King of Hell, which is good. And then we have this one, Devil May Cry 3. You guys know what that is. The 5th one just came out. You have to know what it is. But we have Dante and Virgil there. Really thin. When I first read these ones, I was pretty shocked by the paper quality. And I mean, the art and everything's good. The paper quality is really weird. It almost seems like you could lay them on a bed and actually, if you had enough of these books, make like a mattress or something. It's just kind of weird. Then we have this one, Mad Love Chase. Kid escapes another world, comes here, and is trying to stay away from different people. They look different in their world compared to this world. And so he actually knows who certain people are because he can see them. They can't see him, though. And he has his power locked away. And they're trying to take him back to marry these brides. And he just doesn't want to go. So it's pretty funny. You get the mad because all the people chasing him are basically mad. Then you get the chase. And all of them are chasing him because they love him, basically. So then we're almost to the end. We have this one, which is Elemental Line. Really weird series, guys. I feel like we went from, in this one, being like a human one to basically being like a half dragon people. And I mean, that one goes kind of like any other fantasy one. Not really anything jumps out at it very much. One of them, the guy gets put into prison and is kind of like, I don't understand why I'm here, and his power awakens. So, and there is that, but there's not very much to pull that one out. Elemental Glade, which is another one I've shown you guys before. I think that one is a lot better. So hopefully you guys will get to see those two. And then I said this one, if you saw me pull it off, this one actually is by the same artist and story as my favorite of all time, which is Suikoden 3. As you can see here, Suikoden 3. This is Quan, which is a little boy that has super big dynamic powers and can eat demons. And can't really eat regular food, but demons are what he prefers. Loves to eat them. It is a beautiful story. You know, and like I said, it's written by the same person that I really enjoy. The art is wonderful. I mean, everything about it is just spectacular. And it comes highly recommended. I think it did go on hiatus, though, which is the bad thing about it. But if you like to see one of my favorite artists, she is a lovely woman, as far as I can tell from her art. And, I mean, check her out. She's really cool. Especially coming up with the idea for that story and writing the original story that is my #1 overall favorite. Or taking the idea for it, I guess, because you know she, you know, it came off a video game, so I'm sure she just kind of did an adaptation for it. But her adaptation for it is spectacular, and yeah, I highly recommend that you try some of these out and go forward and just try and get into them, you know. And there's so much stuff that's out there, guys. If you haven't read any of it, you need to. You know, there's more than just the Naruto's and Bleach and My Hero Academia's and, you know, other stuff like that. There's more than just some of the series that you've seen that are like newer shoujo titles where there actually is diversity in the characters. They don't all look the same. They're not stretched figures that are totally different here and there. You know, it's a lot of different stuff that involves all of this old representation of characters and I mean, just everything. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I think that is the last of our, like, really old stuff in the Manga Vault. Those are ones that I know I've put in there a while ago. These other ones are more recent. They're right behind me. You can kind of see the top of one right there. They're a little more recent. So there will probably be ones that some people will know in there and whatnot. Stay tuned for that, guys. I know you guys were probably all biding your time to find something that was in the vaults that you wanted to know if you knew it or not. You know, hopefully most of the video game ones you guys did, especially out of some of these ones today. And you guys will be able to get into and enjoy some of these other ones, see what else is in the Manga Vaults, and yeah, I mean, we'll go from there. I know I'll have to pull these out again whenever I get ready to do my collection video. Don't 100% know when we will do that. Hopefully I'll have everything kind of a little more upgraded and stable, but yeah, so hopefully you guys all have a great day, night, wherever you're at, whatever it is, and stay tuned for more videos. And I hope you guys are ready to watch some of these other Manga Vault videos and you know, just watch other stuff that Jen Graves is involved in, as well as some of the other stuff. Tomorrow I think we get business cards in, Woot, and at some point I do have a prototype t-shirt coming in, and then at some point there will be a way to order t-shirts, so stay tuned. Anyway, I'm Jen Graves. I will catch all you lovely people later. Thanks for watching, and like I said, I'll see you guys later. Bye.